Everyone involved in the Oak Island universe is that type of person. You guys, I can tell, you're that type of person. You hear a story like this, you latch onto it like a dog, and you're just like, let's go. And yes, it's frustrating. And yes, you want it to be solved tomorrow. And yes, who doesn't want to find a chest of gold? Of course we do. Of course, everyone does. But it doesn't work like that sometimes. These things are hard. And so it's taking what it's taking. And that is, in this case, 10 years. Right.
It will explain parts of North American history you've never thought about.
See, I can't wait. The History Channel could not have come up with a better teaser than we just did right here. So I tell you what, stay tuned, folks, because this is going to be a good one. I can't wait.
This is Robert Clotworthy, the narrator of The Curse of Oak Island. And I have a question for you. Could it be that you are listening to The Curse of Oak Island and Beyond live stream?
This is a top pocket find, mate, for sure.
All right. Well, Top Pocket Find is here tonight. Jack Campbell's back in the house. How you doing, Jack?
All right. Good to be here. Good to be here.
Oh, my gosh, man. I tell you what, it is good to see you, sir. Very good to see you. And let's see. Oh, I guess I can get rid of that banner down there on the bottom, can't I? All right, there we go. Because we are starting now. And Tom, you're still mute. Oh, there you go.
Yep. Jack is the secret square tonight. Jack is the secret square.
The secret square. All right. Yeah.
I got to put down my homework for next week. I'm reading Scott Clark's book here. So.
Yep. I know. I'm doing the same thing. I've been trying to get through it. So.
Do you have as many tabs as I do? Look at that.
Not that many. No, not quite. Nope.
Some great stuff in there.
Oh, thank you, folks, for being here tonight. I am the host of the J Free 906 podcast, and this is the Curse of Oak Island and Beyond series. And we have, of course, Tom Burns sitting over there, and Colin Jamieson has jumped in to join us. And for a little bit here, we have Jack Campbell sitting in the chair up there again, and it's really great to see Jack back with us for sure, for at least for a little while tonight. Jack, tell us a little bit about, I know you don't want to get into too much detail on all of this, but tell us a little bit about what's been happening with you.
Well, I had an aorta aneurysm. Oof. And I'm extremely lucky to be alive.
Yes.
And I was six months in the hospital, lost 40 pounds, and I can't afford those 40 pounds. And now I'm finally getting physical therapy twice a week, occupation, and I'm home, which I dearly love.
Mm-hmm. I mean, oh, yeah.
There's nothing better than to be home.
Yeah.
It's hard learning to walk again because all my muscles in my legs atrophy because I just didn't use them.
Right. Yeah.
But we're still doing all the therapy. I have so many doctors, I don't know what to do. I have so many appointments and so many pills that I've lost count. So,
oh boy. Yeah.
In a nutshell, that's what that's been like.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really thankful to my kids for, being with me through. And with you, Jeff, Tom, Colin, Henry, I know Linda, Jan, Brenda, and so many other people. The words of encouragement have just been wonderful. I mean, it's just been wonderful.
Yeah,
You're
good
looking
to hear.
you're looking good, Jack. You
Yeah,
sound great.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, we're really glad that yeah, you said you was touch and go or 50-50 there, but I'm glad you were on the good side of that 50-50.
Yes.
We're glad to see you back in here for a little bit anyway tonight. So really happy about that. And I tell you, I wanted to ask you. I know, and before I say too much about what I feel, what did you think about? I know you kept up with the Oak Island story going
Yeah.
on, the Curse of Oak Island, and I also know that you kept up with the podcast because we saw you over there whenever you could be. What did you think about the season this year? I mean, I thought it was a pretty good. What did you think?
I thought it started out a little bit slow.
Mm-hmm.
The minute they got on lot 5, everything started to take off.
Mm-hmm.
Lot 5, lot 26, they got into the swamp. I mean, it is history, and they are looking for gold, but it was nice to bounce back and forth,
Mm-hmm.
historical wise and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And now, as they keep going forward with the Baby Blob, I am really curious about that round circle in lot 5. That really has me wondering what's going on.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with you there too. Yeah, that's one of the things that we'll kind of talk about a little bit. Go ahead. Did you have something else you wanted to say?
Go ahead.
Oh no. So yeah, and we're gonna kind of throw that out to some of the folks that are watching here tonight, with this being the season finale podcast for the Curse of Oak Island. I'm gonna throw out some takeaways that I had, some of my big takeaways, and we'll kind of go around the room here with everybody. But we'll ask some of you folks too, what you're and wait, don't start throwing them up yet, because the chat ends up going by so fast I can't keep up with it. But later on in the show, when we start talking about that, I'd kind of like to see what you guys all in the chat took as some of the good takeaways from this.
Two things that really interested me this year was that Alex stepped up a whole lot more this
Oh,
year.
for sure.
You did,
Yeah.
definitely. Yep.
And
Mhm.
we got the archaeologist back on the island, which I liked. And my favorite story was Emma, and Jeff, you'll have to relay this on when she's on. When she was there with everybody, she said, "I found gold in that wood," and everybody clapped.
Yeah.
She was looking for a hole to go into, and there was no hole.
Oh, the garden shaft. She could have dove into the garden shaft.
Yeah,
But yeah, you're right. Yeah, yeah, she did. Yeah, but yeah, that was quite the moment there when everybody started clapping about that, and she was kind of like, "Oh boy." But yeah, she has really come about, with this entrance into this season, and then the things that she's done this season. And don't forget, folks, we're going to have her and Laird Niven on the show. Really looking forward to this one. That is on the 31st, May 31st. We have Laird Niven and Emma will be on the show with us, and we are going to be, I think, well, they're going to be on the island, I think, when they're doing the show with us. So we'll see how that all pans out. But that's on the 31st. It's going to be Laird Niven and Emma will be on the show with us. So we'll be talking with them. That cannot wait. That's going to be great. Next week, we have Scott Clark. That's on the 24th. That's the book that Tom just showed a moment ago. And yep, that one right there, The Oak Island Odyssey by Scott Clark. He'll be with us next week, and he's going to share all that book and some history and whatnot with us. So I'm looking forward to that show too. Now, there is also next week on Tuesday night at 9:00, there is going to be a special drilling down. This is one that was filmed I think they did most of it last winter in Traverse City, Michigan, with Rick and Marty and whoever else is going to be in the conference room with them. And they're going to kind of go over some of the things that we haven't yet heard about in this season as it wrapped up last night. And we're going to talk about that. So I was trying to figure out when we can squeeze that in, probably on the 25th. So we got Scott Clark. Wow. Thank you, Linda. That's really kind of you. Thank you so much. Scott Clark on the 24th. So probably Thursday, the 25th, we'll do a little, a little short video on that. We'll do it live, and then we'll talk about whatever they spoke about on the 23rd, and we'll kind of cover some of that, and we'll finish that up.
The one thing I was disappointed this year was they left us hanging and didn't do a 2-hour finale.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yes. I'm with you, Jack. I was hoping for like the big hoorah with some big
Yeah, they
secrets.
tapped that when they tapped on that hole in lot 5, and that was hollow. It felt
Yeah.
like
They kind of
Oh,
left us with the same
well,
questions they left us with the week before, Jack.
Yes.
They
Yes,
didn't answer the questions this week that they were supposed to answer last week.
Yep. Yeah, that is. It's so
they
very
they
true.
just ran out of time.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, in several different ways. So, well, we'll dig into that a little bit more. So, and like I said, for a little housekeeping here, folks, if you have not subscribed to the channel, I ask you to please subscribe to the channel and click on that notification bell so you know when I come out with some new content, in whether it be live or whether it be something that I put together and upload. So, click on that notification bell; you'll know right away. And also, if you'd like to help support the show, we have our Patreon channel. It's patreon.com. That's Patreon. And you can become a patron out there. And for those that I have, I think there's 10 now. I really appreciate you all so very, very much. So thank you for being patrons and helping out. Or you can get one of these tumblers that is made by Jess, does the engraving on them. Jess Grollo from blue6laser.com. And we appreciate those very much too. So you can everything is in a link down below. You can click on that link. It'll take you right out there so you can get one of the tumblers and all of that. And give us a thumbs up if you like the content of our show. And if you like seeing Jack come back, give us a thumbs up. Right.
it's good to be here.
Yeah, I appreciate you too. Yeah, so that's Jess's shop right there, blue6laser with a Z.com. So we really appreciate everything that Jess does. So we'll get them back on the show again pretty soon too. We're gonna I think they got some exciting things happening. So let's jump into this a little bit. So here we go with season 10, episode number 25, and it was called The Hit, and the hits keep coming. I thought it was like Jack had mentioned, it was only a 1 hour season premiere, or I'm sorry, season finale, when generally they do a 2 hour. So, but honestly, and I was going to talk about this just briefly, but I don't think they really had 2 hours worth of material there. I mean, it kind of, yeah, it was a little bit disappointing. I mean, I was hoping for, a couple of finds, something, I even put that poll out on YouTube and I asked folks, what do you think is going to be the cliffhanger going into season 11?
There's about 4 of them now.
Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, but none of the ones that we thought ended up being, one of the cliffhangers, or any kind of cliffhanger. So, we were looking for some things that they just did not show us. I wanted to see them get through the. Oh, thank you, Craig. That's awesome. Oh, look at there. There's Jess. She's already working on it. Oh, that talk about, expediency. There you go. It's one of the things that, and I'm going to go ahead and present this now, but and I don't, and first of all, before I say go any much further with this, very much further with this, I want to know, I want everyone to understand that I have the utmost respect for everyone that is on that island and are working so hard to make this happen. Every single one of them, the Fellowship of the Dig, all the folks out there are working so very hard, and they are very diligent about getting this done and getting as much done in a season that they can. So with that said, there were some things that we just simply did not get privy to at the end of the season, which is some of the things that I thought was very important. Let's see here. And one of them is this little deal right here. Now, the copper colored item with the blue stones in it, they showed us before the season ever started, and then we never saw it.
And it's in their commercials.
And it's in their commercials.
Or whatever you want to call them, clips, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, it's kind of like they kind of have one coming up for the show up ahead, and then they have one that they kind of roll through the entire season as a general, and it's in that general one.
Yeah.
Maybe they deemed it not important enough to show us, like the lipstick case that Linda was talking about earlier.
Well, Jeff, I'm going to go because I'm starting to wear out.
Okay.
I want to thank everybody. You four, Linda, Jan, Brenda, thanks so much for all the warm thoughts and everything. And I will be back.
All right. We love you, Jack.
Your seat will be here, pal. You can have mine if you want it. Your seat will be here.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good night. All right. There you go. Jack Campbell. All right. It was so great to see him.
Jack's he's a super guy. That's a tough cat right there.
Yeah, I tell you what. Yeah.
Guy.
To go through what he went through and be sitting right there, just like he actually looks a little better, I thought, than,
I think he looks great.
Yeah.
I thought he looked great. Sounds great.
Yeah. Yeah. Good seeing him. So yeah, and a lot of well wishes for him too. There you go. Yeah, everybody. He made Jack. For those of you who don't know, Jack and I got this thing started 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that. When we first started rolling out, and I did a couple of shows, and then I decided I needed to have a co-host. Jack came over with us initially and helped us get this whole thing started. And I tell you, I think the world of that man right there. So really glad to see him bouncing back and looking good. I'm looking great.
Yes. Yep.
So, all right. And I want you guys to kind of jump in with your thing on this too. But, I mentioned this earlier, and again, I have the utmost respect for everybody on this island. I really, really do. Rick and the gang, everybody, and the history that they're trying to uncover here. But quite honestly, I don't think they had, I think I made the comment about 15 episodes worth of material that they stretched out to 25. I've said that to a few other people, and I kind of felt that's how the season was. But I think they did have some very, very good takeaways, and we'll get to those as we get it. What do you guys think on that? Got a good summation?
I think you hit the nail on the head myself. Yes. I was really hoping for, again, not negative. I thought there's some really cool stuff they talked about, but I was hoping last night would have been a little bit more at the end, round table, some action items, things that they're going to do. But it was just kind of like a regular episode and, okay, see you next year type of thing.
Yeah.
So,
That's exactly what last night was. You said it. It was a regular episode.
Right. Yeah, it really was.
That's a great way to say it. Yep. I thought they had some really interesting historical, like as far as putting the historical timeline together. I thought that was good. The trips overseas, always interesting. But I don't think we got, deep down far enough into it.
Yep.
I think that they left us hanging on some stuff that, they might have left us hanging on purposely, or they just didn't know.
I thought one of the cooler items that it's kind of a trivial stuff, but remember the round disc, the hole in it, had the edges on it. It
Yeah.
was
The barter piece. The barter piece.
Yeah.
What they
Yeah,
think is
they,
a barter
they
piece.
seem
Yeah.
to say that it was from the same area or, from the same material as the cross. I thought that was kind of a neat, because for me here, you see a lot, there's a gazillion different shipwrecks and stuff, and you can find something on the beach. But it's interesting, we found something more inland and on the beach, and you can kind of tie them together. I thought of that age was a really solidifying thing for me anyway, kind of a trivial thing, but I thought it was quite cool.
No, that's to me, that was very important too. Like you don't, anything can wash up from anywhere, right? And be washed in, washed out. You find something inland, it didn't wash up.
No.
Right.
No.
Very good point. Very good point. And Jan, you said it right there too. It's not the guys. Jan Skurza made a good point there. It's not the guys. That's the production company needing to stretch it out. They sell the show. Prometheus sells this show to the History Channel. And I don't know how all this works because I'm not part of that. So I might be speaking from a little bit of ignorance here, but I would assume that they sell so many episodes. and then they need to make sure they fill content for those episodes. And I think that's kind of how that goes. So no takeaway from the guys on the island.
No. And keep in mind that there's, as I was told by a couple of well-known people down there, there's two things going on in Oak Island, right? One is the search. The other is a television production.
Yep.
Right.
There you go.
Don't confuse. They're trying to sell a TV show based on what these guys are doing as far as the search goes. But don't ever think that what's happening on the TV show is all that's happening that they're doing in the search.
Yep.
No.
These guys are committed. If you sit down and talk to them face to face, one-on-one, these guys are committed. It's not just a TV show to them.
Exactly.
There's there's definitely a lot of stuff on the go on the island and surround. I know for me personally, it's a big draw. Like tourism's a big thing. This draws a lot of people to the area to see what's going on, and there's a lot going on. It's they're already out. I know I did a really early recon mission in the last couple of weeks. I've been doing a little traveling and stuff. I'm hoping this weekend, this is a long weekend for us Canadians here, and hopefully do another recon mission. But I do know there's quite a bit of equipment and stuff starting up on the island now, and folks are working. Tasmania from Australia. Wow. That's super fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So what you're saying, Colin, is this is the year.
Well, I mean, they've invested an astronomical amount of money. I mean, in everything, but the mine going into the ground on that particular spot. I mean, I know in the show they kind of dance around, and it seems kind of like almost like a guess. But they have a lot more information. I mean, when they went and put that and did the mine, that's for a purpose. I think we're going to see a lot more realization of what we're looking for. Now, whether that is something down there or not, but we're going to get some answers from it. I think so.
I think we're going to get more of the story. The story is going to be more complete.
Yeah.
Than just what you can haul up out of a drill borehole.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. And Seth, you said it perfectly there. We love the Fellowship of the Dig more than the show, no doubt. We'll be following them and the story of Oak Island long after the show ends. Exactly. And that's a very good point that I've made a few times before. If the cameras were gone tomorrow and that's it, they said, okay, we're done, we're packing it in, that Rick and most of his team are not going to give up on this until they have the answers that they need. So I mean, whether the cameras are there or not, the Fellowship of the Dig will keep this going, and that just means a lot to Rick.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, he wants answers. So
something I gotta stick in here while you guys are talking. Can everyone please put in the comments where you're from? It's one of my favorite things about this podcast is seeing that we got these people from all over the world that are very interested about what's going on right next door here in Little Nova Scotia. So
yeah,
I've seen someone here from Tasmania, Australia.
I know, and that's something that was I saw the name go by here. That was Daniel Howard from Tasmania, Australia. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
We also had Ruiz from San Diego, California. I spent many years in San Diego. Lived
Florida,
out there.
Montana, another Australian out here, Newcastle, Australia.
Yeah. Quebec. Benoit is from Quebec.
All across the United States and Canada. Yep.
Stan's in San Diego. All right, hey Stan. Yeah. So Darlene from Nova Scotia. Yep. So I really appreciate that. And that's really the cool thing is that people are from all over. Lauren from New Brunswick.
It's incredible. I remember I could tell a silly story, and it blows my mind. A couple of years ago, I was down in Texas going to a football game, and we're driving down the highway, and there's this big billboard, and what's on it but the Curse of Oak Island, and the picture of the island on this billboard down in I don't know where it was in Fort Worth or Dallas, Texas, and I was like, this is amazing. I mean, it's like my hometown, and they got these billboards everywhere. It's really crazy.
Yeah. You're 3,000 miles from home, and there's your hometown up on a billboard. That's pretty awesome. That was in Texas, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is an international show. It truly is. There's people all around, and there's another gentleman, Noel, that's he's in our Discord channel. He joined the Discord channel, and he is from Australia. So yeah, it's um, a lot of people that all over the world are very interested in what's going on here. Yeah, Ray, about the drone video, sir. I use a little bit of it in my intro. But we have been asked personally by the folks on the island not to show drone footage. And so we're going to abide by that. That's the plain and simple. Personally been asked not to do that. So,
excuse me, if you can see it from the water, it's fair game.
yes.
Yeah. I usually just out of respect, I try myself just to go. I know I've had some people ask me, why don't you have pictures of the guys out there working? And I generally try my best to go on the weekends when they're not working, just to be respectful of them and their videoing. And I have passed by during the weekdays, and there's a ton of film crews and there's stuff going on, and I hate to kind of spoil the whole show, but
yeah,
not just that, but Colin, you're next door. You got to be a good neighbor too, right? So.
Yeah,
but certainly after hours, it's fair game. So
yeah, exactly, yeah. And and that's the thing, they there's rules and regulations behind the drones. You have to keep it within sight all the time. You're technically not supposed to be flying that over private property. There's a lot of little rules and regulations with this thing. So, but we've just been asked, and with Circuitrova owning 90% of the island, or more, 95% of the island, they've asked us not to show that. So I mean, there may be some parts that we may, and I'm seeing about getting a little bit of permission to stay off over the water and just get a few like shots like I use in the promo, stuff like that. And that was shot a long time ago. It's already been aired, and that's why I use it for the intro. But not anymore. And it's just out of respect for what they've asked us. So.
Now, on the other side, there could be a From Oak Island podcast or webcast from the boat, from the island during the day. That could happen.
Yes. There would. Yes.
Late June, we'll say.
Yes, somewhere around June, where you're very likely to see live from the Curse of Oak Island, live from Oak Island. Yeah, yeah. Like I said, as long as I got internet, I'm going to be going live. So yeah, so look forward to seeing that, folks. That's going to be a lot of fun. Do you want my spotting scope for the summer? Oh, who was that? That Indie Antics. Oh, hey.
Yeah, we may take you up on that.
Yeah.
My mother actually got me a couple of cool little. I'll say scopes. We'll say some little spy equipment. She got me. So
yep. So yeah. So like I said, with the whole thing from live from Oak Island, with the whole thing with the drones. I mean, it is that drone footage that I did last year was the highest viewed video that I've ever had by far. So is it a hard thing to not do? Yes, it is. But like I said, out of respect for the guys on the island, I'm not going to. So I'm going to leave it at that. So, and everyone's been asked, I think, not to do that. But, well, we will continue on. So, can I? Jess, can I do that? I would do that in a heartbeat. Careful what you
careful what you wish for.
I would
hear
love
Jeff
to
packing now.
Yes, you're not far from me. So yeah, I could very easily do that. All right. So let's jump into this and get it rolling here. So let's see. Oh, there you go. All right. You're likely gonna see me again. All right. It was really fun meeting you guys, truly. All right. So the Curse of Oak Island, episode number 25, the final one for season. The fridge is stocked. For season 10. And again, we start off with a nice drone footage. That's actually production drone footage from looking at the money pit right there. And it starts off with Scott, Paul, Charles, and meeting over there with Roger to check on the progress of the new probe drilling program. As you know, They had reached the 82-foot level with the last set. Yeah, I won't be doing any Dr. Peppers. Thanks, Jess. No, thanks. I'll pass on those. They're coming over to check the progress. Now, you know that they made it down to the 82-foot level, and that's where they hit the very bottom of where the guys, where the team who originally did the garden shaft got down to the very bottom of it, and they got to that dirt portion. Oh, you guys are getting terrible with this. Spicy lemon, what? Jalapeno pepper, what? So,
Okay.
and we
Okay.
still don't know.
Stick to the script. Stick to the script.
Stick to the script. Yes, thank you. Stick to Jan's script here. I'm getting, ooh, squirrel. So anyway, we're not sure exactly who even made dug the garden shaft. We talked about this before, but they were discussing whether it was shaft 12 or shaft number 2 or what the heck they even called it. And it was covered up with dirt until Dan Henske took them over and said, yeah, it's right about in this area. And then they dug it down and they found it. And they sampled some wood and all that. And they just wrote it off as being a searcher tunnel. Well, now we know that probably was a searcher tunnel, but where is it going and what's it going to lead them to? Is that
there were a number of shafts dug down in that 90 to 100 foot range.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was. And this is just one of them. So, so there's a little bit closer look at it right there. And this is when the guys were looking on the screen. I love the fact that they put that one drop camera down there so they could kind of watch what's happening from top side. Really cool that they did that. And there they are with the, I think that's the 6-inch auger bit on it right now. And they're working, the hole. They're trying to get down to, they're trying to hit that tunnel, that the east-west tunnel that goes through the north corner of the garden shaft. They're trying to hit that area. They'd like to get to the, hit the wood on it. And that was at about 93 feet, was it? About 93 feet?
93, you're in that 90 foot plus range. Yep.
Yeah. And that's it right there where they predicted it would run. And that's also, if you remember, that's also where the corner of the north corner there was sinking down into, the ground a little bit, as if there was something, not stable underneath it, which kind of leads to, there probably is a tunnel there. Also, the pressure, we talked about this a little bit, but the pressure that was pushing on that northeast wall and cracking the beams, that's still kind of scary to me. I mean, what's on the back side of that? Is that a lot of water?
A lot of water, mud, slush.
Something. Yeah. So this tunnel, this east-west tunnel, they figure is running over to the Baby Blob right there. And that's what they're very interested in hitting, is this tunnel right here at 93-ish feet, right in that range. Later on, they bring over Rick. Rick comes over and he asks what depth they're at. And Scott tells them they are at 93 feet at that point right there. They're drilling down and they've got to that point. And the drill seems to be binding up on something. And Rick points out that it could be hitting wood. And, I think that's right. I think they are hitting wood right there with that. The drill also seems to be binding up on it. And Paul notices some material that's coming around and it's building up. It's coming out. The auger is actually, because you talk about an auger, is actually pulling some of that stuff back up and depositing it and falling out of the hole. And you can kind of see it. This is a bit blurry, but you can kind of see it there on the around the edges of that hole. Now, they immediately made the idea that they need to get some of that and test it. And that's what you see. Let's see, Roger calls down and gets Rodney. Rodney puts it in the bag. They kind of bag up some of that stuff, and he's bringing it over. Rodney also tells them while they're in there that he is 99.9% sure that they are on hitting wood down there.
They would know.
They would know. And you've seen the bit.
Probably get a different sound to it as well, different vibration, rock versus wood versus clay versus, loose soil.
I don't think so. Borchers Texas Farm, is that tunnel located lower than they originally thought? I don't think so. I can't
From the
say.
bottom.
I say that because I don't believe there's any wooden wall structure below that level, below the 82-foot level. Now, if
No,
we go back,
that 82 feet is supposedly the bottom of that shaft
right,
that they're in. Yeah. Now, whether there's tunnels below it, that's the question.
right, and I don't have. I later on I've got a picture when Gary was scanning down there with his metal detector, and you kind of get a look at the walls. You see that there's no wood walls on the sides down that low. So I would have to say yes, that's the bottom of the garden shaft.
I see someone mention about, with all the rains, why isn't there any water in there? But they'd be steadily pumping
Oh, yeah.
up there. Like they just have certain seepage or groundwater plus rainwater coming in. So they'd be pumping that stuff out. They'd be pumping fresh air, ventilation in constantly.
Yep.
And last week we showed that aerial shot of the pipe coming out, going down to the dumpster where they were pumping stuff to.
Yep.
In the
Yeah,
money pit.
going down to the dumpster that's on the south side there. Yeah, that's a good point you made, Renee. I loved how that, and I saw that too, and I caught that. How the guys down there, the guys from Dumas that were down in the hole, had mentioned that he would really wanted to pull some wood out of that hole for the guys. Everybody wants it. Yeah, and that just shows you, and you hear this from the choice drilling guys too. These contractors that come out, and especially the ones that stay around for a while, like Vanessa and Rock Equipment Company and all of those, they become personally invested in this search and the history.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that?
Absolutely.
I've got some friends that there's the rumor is hopefully I'll find out this week when I go look, but the rumor is Dumas is back. Those guys
They are
there now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I
We
mean,
just got word on that.
Yeah, and the reason they stopped last year is they ran out of permit room, right?
Yep. Yeah, there was a day they had to stop. The permit went through this day, and that day was the day they were there. They had to stop.
And that depth. Once they
at
get to a
that-
certain depth, that's as far as their permit would take them.
Yep. So they could probe drill from there, but they weren't allowed to continue mining. I guess
keep excavating.
excavating or whatever. Yeah.
Well, here's an interesting aside for you. When I was reading Scott's book today, this just jumped out at me. How history repeats itself. In 1897, a fellow by the name of William Chappell, who I think most people would remember, dug a hole to a depth of almost 90 feet. And do you know what he did at a depth of 90 feet? He set up a drill platform.
And he was drilling down a little deeper, wasn't he?
And he was drilling from 90 feet down. Yep.
Yeah.
So they did the same thing. They dug the shaft, set up a platform, brought down a drill, and started drilling exploratory holes. Now he went, hundreds of feet down, but
You'd be going down and going out.
Yep.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what they want to do is they want to get down there and hit the bottom and then go a little deeper, hit that tunnel that they know is there, and then be able to utilize that tunnel. Now, is that tunnel collapsed? Probably some of it is, I would imagine. We don't know for sure. And we just lost Colin but we don't know, we know it's there, or pretty darn certain that it's there. But they want to be able to reach it. Now, one thing we did get word just before the show started tonight, we did get word that Dumas is back on the island right now. So they're there. And as you guys saw, we know that from some of the pictures that were taken, they were supplied by Karen, public cover from the Oak Island from the other side of the causeway, and her website or her Facebook page, that they were drilling, that Choice Drilling was back. This was a week and a week ago. Yeah. That one came out
last week. Yeah,
it was last week. And so Choice Drilling. Now, the interesting thing was, where was Choice Drilling? Where were they working? And over by the Boulderless Beach area. Interesting, isn't it?
I wonder if we're going to hear moo on that later.
Yeah. I got to get ready for that. I got to have that ready to go. So but yeah, so interesting stuff happening already, folks, on the island. So, all right. So we're hoping that the samples that you see Rodney Carrion right here are going to be analyzed, or they already were by now, but we're hoping that we'll find out next week in the drilling down special. We're hoping that they give us some dates of that. I really want to know if there's gold in any of the wood that they found. He said there was small pieces of wood in there, nothing big, he said. But there's got to be some chunks of little pieces, like that little piece that they got, on the smaller drill bit that they brought up, the 2-inch, I think it was, or 4-inch. And they brought up that little tiny piece of wood. And you heard Rick and Marty say that that's enough to be carbon dated. So, yeah, interesting. So, what lot is the Boulders to the Beach? I think that that would be 27, 28.
Yeah, it would be in that range. Yep.
No, wait a minute. No,
I know.
27, 28 down there. This would be 16, 17, 18, I think, around that range.
Okay.
I think.
Down over
Anybody
the
know
hill.
for sure? I'd have to look at my map.
Okay, the money pit's on 18.
Thank you, Craig. Oh, the money pit's on 18, so I
Yep.
back it up to about 16 then. Craig, thank you so much, sir. I appreciate that. Very kind of you. So probably 16, 17, somewhere around in there. It's over by the quadrilateral, just down from the quadrilateral area, I think. Between and correct and nod if I'm correct on this, Linda. I think isn't that between Nolan's Dock and the Smith's Cove, the Boulderless Beach? Okay. Yeah, somewhere in that range. All right. So what are they doing over there? And what a couple of other places that they were drilling and we never heard anything about was on the other side of 10X from where the crane was sitting up on top of the hill right there. It was sitting right up above the garden shaft. They were actually drilling over on the other side of 10X.
Yeah.
And to that tree, if you take if you're looking at the garden shaft, the tree that's up on the north corner, that north corner where the shaft goes, or the tunnel goes underneath, there's a pine tree up on the hill there, just to the left of the crane. They were drilling there as well. But we didn't hear anything about that. So hopefully we'll get some more.
What did they say last night that they had when they asked Steve? They said they've drilled over
Christina.
500 boreholes.
Yes,
500. 500, and they'll put in over 20 caissons.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that goes to show or to tell what we see in the show is like less than 1% of what actually goes on. Like there's so much material, there's so much stuff taken, there's so many artifacts. We only get to see very, there's only so many, we say there's 24 episodes, 25 episodes, 45 minutes each. We see, 20 hours of show out of thousands of hours of recording, right?
Yeah, exactly.
How many artifacts did they say they got last year? 500 artifacts or something? It was a ridiculous amount.
Crazy amount. Crazy.
800. 800.
Yeah, 800.
So even if 300 of them are nails, that's still a lot of artifacts.
Yeah, definitely a lot of artifacts. Oh, you guys are breaking me up over here. The chat, everybody in the chat's just all right. So here we go. We've got and then and this is the part where I was a little disappointed, but yet kind of happy. They're down there, they're running the drill, the probe drill, the 6-inch, are running it down there, and they're hitting wood, and you can see it. Remember, anybody that's used a drill and you're drilling through wood, and or even metal, when you get to a certain point and the bit binds up and you got to back it up and hit it again and back it up and hit it. That's exactly what was happening down there. And you could see it screw into the wood. And then when they backed it up, it would come out a long way. It was screwing into the wood, that auger bit. So they were on it. Now, granted, they said that they think because they were hitting wood for such a long period or a depth, that they think that they were actually on the wall of the shaft or the tunnel that they were hitting, at 93 feet.
I think that's one of the reasons they were losing power too, right? Because when your drill bit bites into something, it's going to pull itself down, right? It's going to bite in and pull itself down. Plus they're pushing. But if your drill auger is on the side of something, and just because you can see that the drill auger was moving, right?
Yep.
If it's moving and the side of it is hitting up against something,
Yep.
that's going to cause it to bind too.
Yes, it will. Yep. Good, very good point.
It's going to cause additional friction, and it won't be able to go down.
Right. Something I forgot to mention. We are going to do a drawing tonight too. For Jess Grollo has made, and I didn't show a picture of this. I'm sorry, folks. Linda should have. She's probably yelling at me under her breath down there. But we do have the giveaway for tonight, which is this, and we're going to do this here in just a little bit. It is this right here. It is the Sempre Avante tumbler. That of course was engraved by Jess Grollo and blue6laser.com, and she has donated that for tonight's giveaway. So that's really cool. It's got the little thing of Oak Island on the side right there. Little picture. So yeah, that's what we're giving away. We'll do that here in just a little bit. So sorry about that.
Nice.
I missed talking about it. So next, you see the guys, and this is what I was saying. This is where I was going with this whole bit about the wood getting stuck in, or the bit getting stuck in the wood. I was thinking, my gosh, guys, you're this close. You're this close to actually being able to put a camera down there. And you're talking about this being the last day. We're within a couple of hours. I'm saying, oh, move it over and go some more. But we know that takes a long time, and they were going to run out of time. So I was disappointed that we didn't get to punch into a void or a tunnel and get a camera down there, which is the thing I really wanted to see. And then maybe see that copper metal thing with the blue stones in it. But we did get to see Rick and Marty suit up and want to go down into the down into the garden shaft together, which I thought was really cool. Darren, Wichita, Kansas, Spirit Aero Systems mechanic drill binds up most at the bottom of holes breaking through. Yes, that's very true. Yes. And I know, that's the same thing. That's what I was when you're drilling through metal, it'll go. And then when you get to the bottom, when you're really starting to just get that raw edge down there, that's when it binds up. So if they only could have went a little further, but anyway. Like Tom said, they could have been going down along the edge of it too and binding it that way.
Yeah, and they could have been inside or outside, right? We don't know if the tunnel they have is a solid roof or just a log structure roof, right?
Exactly.
So they could have been inside a collapsed tunnel too.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, we just don't know, unfortunately. But they're being their last day, they went ahead and stopped. And then we got Rick and Marty suiting up to head over. And I just love this. And this is the picture I used for the thumbnail for tonight's show, because this right here says so much to me. This one picture. Here they are, looking at this 60 years later. Than they first imagined about going down and finding the treasure in the money pit, or getting underground in the money pit. And here they are 60 years later, the two of them getting ready to do just that. And they're clowning around like boys, like they were back 60 years ago. So I thought this was really a great picture. And that's why, and Jan had used it for the Happy Oak Island Day on Tuesday. And so I kind of borrowed it from her. But it was great, and that's why I had to use this. But there they are, happy to be going down in there together for the first time. And there's Rick down inside. Now, once they get down inside and they're looking, they pull up the board and everything. They're looking down there, and they know that they got a little bit of water inside there. And that's when they make the decision that they're going to go ahead and get Gary out there and do a little metal detecting, which I thought was a fantastic idea. So they get on the radio, and Roger calls him up, says, yep, get Gary over here with the metal detector. And then there he is coming in. Now we get Gary down in there. One other person that I thought would be cool to have go down there, but I don't know how that would work out for him because of, being able to go down 8 flights at his age, would be Dan Henske. I thought about that, man. It'd be so cool if Dan.
Yeah, well, they've got the basket there too, right? If the crane was still there, they could have put him down on the basket.
Yeah, I'm just
that would have been cool. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he knew exactly where it was. He had messed with it before. For him to be able to go down in it, I thought that would have been a touching moment too. But anyway, we were kind of talking about that in Discord last night. So anyway, there's Gary. He's going down, and he is at the bottom, meeting up with Rick and Marty. And down comes down his CTX 3030 Mine Labs metal detector. And he said right off the bat, because they were talking about the fact that there would be nails down there, chunks of wire down there, miscellaneous stuff that had dropped. Everything goes to the bottom, right? So with this particular metal detector, he can discriminate most of that stuff out and just look for non-ferrous hits. So that's exactly what he did. And that's a very nice metal detector. I mean, I don't know a whole lot about them. I'm kind of a newbie with metal detectors, but that's a definitely a expensive unit right there. Yeah, he had who are you talking about, Gary? Oh, completed the training. Oh yeah, he would have had to. There's no doubt about that, Jack. He would have had to have done that before he could go in. There was no two ways about it. So there's the water hole, and this is what I was saying. You can't really get a look at it, but there's just dirt on the walls down here, and that's why I was saying this is as far as they went, because the tunnel's not shored up in any way down there, down below the 82-foot level. That's the hole that they were drilling, that they pulled that bit back out of, the auger bit. It's $2,000 for that thing, Heavenly Mag. And there it is. There he is. When he got done, he pulled it back out. But wasn't that a beautiful sound? And I almost recorded the sound that metal detector was making down there. It was making that high pitch, because that's one of the things with the metal detectors. When they get like iron, it's and then when you get those higher pitch sounds, those are the good ones. Those are the things you really want to dig on. And
it's the sound of money.
It's the sound of money. Yes. Yes, indeed.
The other thing too about Dan, we don't know if Dan went down or not. We just know he wasn't on the show.
Yeah, very true. That's a good point. I just thought it'd be a touching moment to show on television.
Yeah, it would. Yep.
Yeah, David. Yeah, for sure. Non-ferrous, so close and yet so far.
Yeah.
Catfishing is for next season, right there.
What's that? Say it again.
Catfishing for next year.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
I thought it might have been a pull tab off a can of Dr. Pepper or something.
It could be, because that's a non-ferrous hit, right? So, yeah, I you know how many pull tabs I've dug up? I don't even want to talk about it. You get the old ones. Remember the old ones? That was the ring with the little tongue on it.
Yep.
Yeah, I've got a few of those. So, but anyway, that was a beautiful sound to hear that thing hitting those non-ferrous hits. So. Yeah, shop vac. I know, right? That's what somebody was saying. How much hose can they put on that hydrovac and get that thing down there and get digging?
I would dare say they could probably pull. I mean, if there's pumping water out of the bottom, right? They've got some kind of mechanism down there to pump water.
Yep. Oh, exactly. Yeah. Get all that mud and everything out of there. Oof. Anyway, next season, of course, they're probably getting ready to work it right now.
They'll be back.
They'll be back. All right. So we jump over to lot number 5, and that's the guys showing up. Marty and Alex coming over to check out what's going on with Laird and Miriam and Helen to kind of see where they're at with this. And this is what Jack Campbell was just talking about. This is one of the features out here. Lot 5, it could this, and Jack Bagley had mentioned, could it be the hatch? Could it be the hatch that's on Xena's map? I don't know. Maybe.
Or a hatch.
It's true.
Right.
Or a hatch. I don't know. It's
going
still,
somewhere.
In my opinion, it's still up in the air as to what this thing was. It certainly wasn't just a nicely beveled and rounded hole to throw stones into. And they've got this massive foundation that goes around the outside of it. I mean, we talked about pit houses. We talked about different types of things like that, some sort of structure. What and again, I'm pretty ignorant when it comes to these pit houses, but would they need a foundation that deep for a pit house? I
What
don't
do you
know.
think? How many people are on the island working with the modern day equipment that they have now? So you can think there were tunnels and people were digging back in the 1600s, maybe earlier,
Mm-hmm.
with very old equipment. They would need a lot of people, like a
Yes,
lot.
a lot. Yes.
And so, again, what do you need to do with people? You need to house them. You need to feed them. You need to do all these things. So I'm of the opinion, I think we talked about it, one of the other ones, is that I think the Lot 5 area was more of an encampment, a generational encampment, because,
Yeah.
as time has gone on, people have certainly come and gone.
Yep.
But I think it was more of an encampment. I think even stuff like, there was no refrigerators.
Right.
Correct.
You had to keep your food. You had to keep all your stuff. It gets hot in the summertime. It's not like these guys and girls were working in the winter up there. It was summer month work, and they would have had to keep their food in barrels
Yeah.
and bags and have that stuff kept cool and out of the sun and away from animals getting it and all the other
Yep.
stuff, right? So it
Yeah,
makes sense. You're not feeding 3 or 4 people. They were probably feeding dozens of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
I was going to say upwards of 100.
Yeah.
The other thing too is that when you think about it, if this main center component was some sort of a structure housing people or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
when you go back and look at the Ball Foundation, right? He had a foundation for his house, and then he had, let's call them tunnels, shafts, whatever, going off to the side
Mm-hmm.
that could have been used for storage.
Yep.
Right. So you've got your main living quarters where you live, sleep, and off of that could be additional tunnels deeper down to get to colder ground for food storage.
Yep.
Yep. That's I'm with you, Tom. That's my theory on this piece of the island. Hence, they're finding lots of just not mining and digging equipment, but they're finding a lot of personal stuff. Tupperware, coins.
Yeah.
Nails.
Buttons. Yeah, all these different things that people would have been using and milling around and dropping and all that kind of stuff.
So. Yeah. I think last night was the first night that Laird ever actually hinted to the fact that it was an enclosed, perhaps wooden structure.
Yeah.
That they needed to find the boundaries to.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Someone said root cellars. Yeah. That's wholly what it was. Because even in the Samuel Ball house that they kind of went in a little more depth a couple of seasons ago. Remember there, and they had these underground structures in the foundation. It was like, is it a cave? Is it whatever? Odds are that was just storage facility in the house, because outside, we do have bears and coyotes and there's raccoons and there's all kinds of stuff that wants to steal your food.
Right.
Again, it's not like you have a refrigerator to put your meat or stuff that you were hunting or killed or whatever. So it's underground is the place.
Yeah, exactly. That was the cool spot, a place to keep things cold, or, like Pete said there, like an old ice house of some sort. Yeah.
Yep.
So, and the fact that the way it was constructed, and I guess I got that, in a couple of they were throwing some of these rocks that they had pulled out, but there was cobble in there too. And if you remember, and I had to grab this picture just simply because, these guys, this is what Prometheus goes through. I'm sorry, the camera crew that's out there, they go through and they put these cameras on things, and I got to say that I have a GoPro, but I can tell you what, I would not be risking my GoPro right there with these guys throwing rocks into the bucket.
That's funny.
I spent a lot of money for that GoPro.
That's really funny.
I don't trust these guys not to hit it with a rock and ruin my GoPro. So
The other thing too, just kind of came to me. If you were going to build this structure and you wanted to sort of drain water away from it, you'd put your big rocks on the inside of the structure, right? So that you're building the walls, and then behind those rock walls, you'd throw all the loose rocks to enable water to drain away. Right, an old-fashioned drain tile.
That's right.
Exactly. Yep. Good point. They brought Gary out. There's Gary Drayton there. They brought him out to do a little metal detecting. I can't imagine he wasn't all around already doing some, but he did find some nails. They asked if these were square, and he said he wasn't sure, but it looked like that one there was. I don't know truly if it is or not, but yeah.
He had 2 or 3 baggies of stuff going on there. You could see Laird putting stuff in bags and throwing them down, where he's throwing them down. He had 2 or 3 baggies full of stuff there.
Yeah. So several artifacts that were being found. And that's what kind of helped Laird to push him towards it was some sort of a wooden structure of some sort. You know, when you're finding nails, why would you need the nails? Right. So yeah. Some sort of wooden structure more than likely. And then Rick shows up out there. And then Rick was there, and when that's when Laird tapped on the bottom with his trowel. And you know, they were talking about the fact that, does that sound, you know, hollow to you? Or, you know, it's like, yeah, it certainly does. Doesn't sound like a solid bottom down there.
Yeah, it sounded hollow even just on the camera, on the you know, what you hear on TV, it sounded hollow. Yeah.
Yeah, it sure did. So then they talk about doing one of Marty's favorite things, getting out the equipment and start digging up some of those rocks. So that's what they were coming in, and he started reaching in there and picking out some of the heavier ones to pull up and get out of the way. That was him doing it there. One of the pictures, and this is the one where I grabbed this one because of the fact of the construction type. Now, if you go back, and they mentioned this on the show, but if you go back to the wall, the rock wall that was over on lot 26 by the well, and they took the rock wall, you had the bigger stones on the outside, and then you got the cobble and the smaller stones filling up the center of it, right? And you build it in such a way that it becomes like a big foundation, you know. And that thing, it's so wide and it's so well constructed. I'm still on the fence of whether or not that's a wall, or was it I don't know. It seems to be too long for being a building. But man, I mean, and there would have to be another one if it was a building, so you have the foundation on both sides. But I mean, that seems like an awful lot of effort to go through to make a wall, unless it was part of some sort of a wharf. But it didn't go out past the end of the reeds that were there, so it didn't go out into the water. I don't know. Question. But there's the wall, and you see here's your big rocks on the outside, and you got all the smaller ones filling up the center. And that's kind of the same way this was done. Now, is that a technique that was used by multiple peoples, or would that likely be the same people doing both structures? So, you know, that's where that question comes in about the occupation and when.
Yeah, and you know, how much labor would it take? Were you using skilled labor, forced labor? Were you trying to keep forced labor people busy and tired? And this is what you told them to do?
Right. So, yeah. So, I mean, an awfully big foundation, and just like that wall, an awfully big wall, you know, built there for what? I mean, I don't know. And it even had an opening in it. So the wall went for a ways, and then it stopped. There was an opening that was like maybe 10 feet wide, and then the wall continued on again. And then, of course, went down to the oak tree that they took the samples from for dendral checking to see the age of it. But I don't know. But again, you go back to the occupation, you know, and we'll get to that a little bit more as we go along here. But so more to come on that lot 5 round feature, Jack Campbell. You know, and I want to see too. I'm curious about it too. So that was one of the little mini cliffhangers, I guess, was the false bottom on it, or some kind of a hollow bottom on it, or something that seemed that way. And the finishing of its excavation. And you heard Marty say, we're not done with lot 5 yet. There's a lot more to be discovered on lot 5. So he said he wants to put more people in it right off the bat. So you can bet they're already there. They're already there working. So what did that say? I wonder if 10 people together could build something like that in less than a week. Maybe not needing a ton of people. I don't know.
I don't know how many people it would take, but you're not going to move some of those boulders, you know, with 2 or 3 people, right? You're going to need some sort of animals and or levers, equipments, tripods, whatever, to move those rocks.
Yep. Exactly.
What was it before? I remember this was a few years ago now, and they had found the human bones, and it was like 165 feet down
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
of was it Middle Eastern descent,
Yep.
and was it Eastern? Was it European as well?
Yeah.
European and Eastern,
Right.
and Middle Eastern, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you always go to wonder how much would there be for slave labor. Unfortunately, would have been a
Yep.
very common thing back in the day.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Absolutely, no doubt. I mean, the Portuguese were one of
yes,
the founders of the slave
Yeah.
market.
Yeah.
Right. And back then, when you won a war, you took your other soldiers and used them. They became your slaves. So it wasn't, necessarily slavery as we all associate the term slavery.
Mhm.
It's forced labor.
Yeah.
Or you were conscripted into the army or navy. You're with me. Come on, let's go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hence, a lot of these partitions and stuff on the island could have been a variety of things, from separating living areas to, again, some menial defense. Because even back then, there would have been, quite an Aboriginal, a native population in the area. I mean, I don't know who was friendly to who at the time. So there would have been all kinds of reasons to have these walls and semi-fortifications kind of geared up in place, right?
Right. Yeah, I see the
Absolutely.
question.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, one of the Vaughan brothers was Daniel Vaughan that left Oak Island and came to New Brunswick. So St. Martin's just outside of where I live, and he was actually killed by Indians after he moved to New Brunswick. So there was not a friendly relationship at all times, for sure.
Not at all times. Yeah, definitely. I see the question popping up here asking about how many crew could a ship hold back then, and then Heaven Mag put up the little thing saying something about a galleon could hold up to 800. I don't know if that and I'm assuming you're correct on that. I don't know that to be true. It might be, but that's a lot of people and 2 tons of cargo, or 2,000 tons of cargo. So yeah, they were big ships and they could
A
hold
little
a
bit
lot
of
of
reading I've
people.
done, you could easily have a crew of 100 or 200 on a ship.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's a lot of people that you can bring over. And then, and you heard about some of the, so, all the different ships that come over, and there was some there was a fleet of ships coming over, at some
30,
point. So,
30 and 40 ships at a time.
yeah. So that's a lot of people. So there you go. All right. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up lot 5 for this season. So we're going to see more on that circle stone feature. We're going to, like I said, Laird's probably already there working on it right now, I would imagine, with Emma or whoever else, and maybe Miriam and Helen. So they're already working, to get that thing done. Let's go ahead and jump over and do our giveaway. Now, as Linda comes up to get ready for this, I want to just mention to you that to any of these giveaways that we do on this show, and we'll continue to, and also for the Skinwalker Ranch, we're doing those giveaways there as well. And these are we're getting into things that are being donated. And thank you everybody like Jess Grollo and those that have donated some of these things. To be eligible to get in on the drawing for this, you need to do so from our Facebook group page, which is the Curse of Oak Island and Beyond. You go there, you become a member, and then Linda will put out a picture of the item in a post, and then you will simply just do a comment to that post saying yes, and then that will automatically get you entered into it. I don't know how much work. I imagine it's a ton of work for her to do, but thank you, Linda, for going through all of that, getting everybody's names. You had a lot of names for this one, didn't you?
Yeah.
I
Reminder,
had
you only need to put
one.
your yes. You only need to put the word yes in once.
Once, yeah.
Right. And if you put the word yes in again, everybody that puts a yes in, I have to go back through all of the former ones to make sure that you didn't forget, because last week we had 3 people try to put their names in twice.
Yeah.
So
I missed out even putting once. I can't.
Yeah, I know. And I'm not allowed. And I don't. That's yeah. So this is what we're giving away. This is the tumbler made by or done the engraving by Jess Grollo. So there is the tumbler that we're giving away tonight, and Linda's going to do the spin. So that's how you become eligible to get any of these giveaways. is you have to be part of our group, and you must be present tonight. If your name comes up, we
Right.
need to have you say so within, a couple minutes to say that you're here. So then you can get that. So whenever you are ready, Linda.
All right. You guys, I can't see.
Uh-oh.
Hold it up close.
Okay.
Just don't
I
show
have
us.
my glasses, but we'll see what happens.
All right. Gail Richards.
Gail Richards.
Gail Richards. All right, Gail, are you here? If Gail is here, please let us know. We know we got about a 15-second delay, so
Right.
we'll hear from Gail here in a minute, and hopefully she's here. And you can then you have to make arrangements with Linda, and she will get that over to Jess. I think Jess has it, right? Is that?
I have it.
There's
Jess
you
had
have
it.
it. Okay. There's Gail right there. I'm here.
And Gail is here.
Again.
I'm
She
very
went before?
jealous.
Yes, Gail has won before.
What? What?
Okay.
Oh man.
Audit.
Oh,
I call for
yeah.
an audit.
Oh, all right. Well, that's congratulations, Gail, again.
We will get that out in the mail maybe by Friday.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Thanks.
Yep. Thank you, Linda. Appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
All right.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a cool one right there. I mean, how many times have we heard him say that on the island, right?
Gail, I need to reach out to you for some lottery numbers this week.
I was just thinking something along that line.
Gonna
Maybe just change my
message
name to
you here later.
maybe just change my name to Gail and put my name in the draw.
Yeah, I mean, come on. All right. They had a couple of war room sessions while they were on during the show last night, but we're going to just jump to the last one and kind of go through some of that. And I thought this was pretty interesting. Some of the things I love it when they get the table out covered with all the artifacts that they found, or not all of them, but the highlights of some of them that they found. I like when they get out. And so like Jan had mentioned earlier when we were talking about the things that you wish they would have done on this, would have been talk a little bit more about some of them. Many of them we saw already, and we kind of knew the story behind them, especially the recent ones like the little round barter token that was recently found that was lead and had the scalped edges on it, and also the Roman coin. We've seen it brought up several times. There were some other things that were on this table here that, quite honestly, we didn't hear too much about or didn't hear anything about. And I see one right here. It's this piece of wood. I may have a better picture of that, but that piece of wood looks like it's very intricate, like it's been carved with some sort of a fancy pattern on it. But again, I never heard them talk about it at all. So I kind of wondered about that, if that was something that we missed out on. Let's see here. So that's one thing. And then let's see, there was another one, and I'm going to get to in a picture here in a second. Let's see. And then the guys were up there. So basically the whole team, everybody except for let's see, who is one. Peter was not there. I think it was Peter that wasn't present. Everybody else was there.
I first saw all that. I thought, guys, you're going to need a bigger war room.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely need a bigger war room. Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, because everybody, you got everybody over in the different rooms, and of course, Craig being back in Traverse City at the time, obviously. And there was a couple of other. Of course, you got the cross and the horseshoe, but there was a couple of other items. Like these right here. I don't remember seeing these items. Those two things.
That piece of wood, I think the first one you circled, is that one they brought up from the garden shaft?
They both say, "Oh, you're right. Yes, you're right. It is
garden shaft, I think."
Yeah, these were that had gold content in them.
Yeah, I think the tag actually says garden shaft to them.
Yeah,
just trying to read it. Yeah, I think they're the garden shaft pieces they tested for gold.
Yep. Just trying to read this one right here. Lot 10. It says lead something, lot 10. That's interesting. Didn't know anything about that one. That's one to slip by. There's the Chinese coin from lot 15. We've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah, really cool. Some different items that we've seen, and many of these we do recognize. This is one that I don't recall ever seeing. Was this right here? Right here.
Yeah, the brooch. Yeah, I saw that. I didn't recall it either.
No,
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing that.
Lot number 4. A brooch on lot 4. Yeah, that's a new one that I never saw it.
2, 3,
So
4,
that's pretty cool.
Again, there's an astronomical amount of stuff that we just wouldn't see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of things that kind of go by that we don't ever get to find out about. When there's 800 things that are found during a filming season, a lot of those are common nails, and things like that. And so and I'm glad they spare us from each and every one of those. Yeah, we get to see about 4 each week, right? So yeah, I'm glad they spare us from some of those things. Now, getting back to a little bit about some of the things that they spoke of during this war room meeting was some of the dates that I thought were very, very significant. And now, one of them was, as you know, they've been working in the swamp. And I'm going to go back and kind of, most of you already know all of this, folks that have been watching the show for all these years, like I have. And you've heard me mention this before, but you got that road that they found in the southeast corner of the swamp. Very prominent road that looks like it may have extended out into the water at some point. Okay, so you got that road there. Then you got the road that Aaron Taylor and them found that goes up from there to the north and heads towards Nolan's house, the house that's built up there, Tom Nolan's house. And then once you get up to that area, and they found a lot of interesting things along the way. You get up to that area, and then you also had the what we're calling the platform, the stone platform that was out there. That was what they first found. I think that was Ian Spooner had gone out there, and they dated that to about 1220. Now this year they found a ramp leading from that stone platform going up to the road that ran from the southeast corner all the way up to Nolan's house property. Okay. And that ramp leads up there. And you heard Billy Gerhardt say that that ramp is so well done, you could run a wheelbarrow up it, right up to the road. The strange thing about all of this, and they brought this up, and we were talking about it in Discord last night also, was that the date range for all these things. The stone platform was dated to about 1220. Now everything else dates to about, what was it, 1495 to about the middle 1600s.
Yeah, it's like 3 generations behind, right?
Yeah.
Or more, actually.
Right.
People didn't live that long back then.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, then you run into those dates. And so, and they talked about that on there. How is that, why do you have that big difference in those dates? So, was the stone platform built, if it was built around 1220 or so, it would have been utilized for, and again, you go back to the whole thing of who built it and what in the world was it for? Something that large, and they had to build in a swampy area, which it was, right? Well, we don't know how swampy it was back then. We do know that there is a natural spring that runs from just north of the eye of the swamp, the spring does, and it feeds all the way through there. When they drain it, you can always see that little stream that runs through there to the ocean on the south side. It goes in, that's what fills it back up, of course, with sea spray and everything else. That's why it gets brackish, but that's a freshwater spring. And that will eventually fill the swamp back up with water again. But you go back 400 years or more, 800 years, 900 years, was that a swampy area then? Just don't know, unfortunately. But why would they build a platform if it wasn't a swampy or a muddy or some kind of a place? If that swamp, if that stream, if the spring is always fed that, then chances are it always was a watery, muddy place. Whether or not it was 2 islands and there was enough water in there to bring a boat in, We just don't know, right? I mean,
Well, you look back, in different places. If you look at where the origin of a river or brook or creek starts, it's usually at a spring,
yep, that's true. Yeah.
right? So you don't need a 500-foot wide swamp or open or bay to bring a ship in, right? They used to build sailing ships here in New Brunswick and in Nova Scotia in creeks, right?
Yep.
Creek 30, 40 feet wide. They built the ship in there. They slid it off the mud at low tide or at high tide into the creek and took it out to the open ocean,
Mm-hmm.
right? You don't need it to be 500 feet wide.
Right.
It only has to be wide enough to float a boat in.
Right. Or doing repair.
Exactly.
So would that be a good purpose for a big platform like that? Probably.
Yep. If you had a lot of activity going on, you pull up multiple boats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or dories or whatever they're using to go back and forth in.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So thinking that the platform was a necessary item that they had to build to be able to get access to a boat or the dories or whatever to bring them that close to land to offload and load or repair or whatever. But then you're going to also need some sort of a ramp to get up a hill a little bit and onto another road that then goes. Well, we know one way, if you go right, it takes you down to the southeast corner of the swamp. If you go left or straight up, it goes into the uplands or over by where Nolan's house now sits, Tom Nolan's house. So are they all connected? I think they made the final determination this season that yes, they are all connected. Even the fact that they have different date ranges. Now, were they repaired? If you go back to when Dr. Aaron Taylor was working on that road in the southeast corner of the swamp, he mentioned during that time, or when he was on our show, when he came on here and joined us, he actually mentioned that it looked to him as though it had been repaired at a later date, much later date. So the original road in the southeast corner that cuts across that corner there had been added to or repaired later, much later on. So good night, Jess. Thank you for coming out here tonight. Appreciate it. So, that and then you take also the dates for the stone wall down on lot 26 and that well on lot 26. The date ranges are about the same, aren't they? Well, not the well. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think Rick hit it right on the head last night. And to me, that's one of the takeaways of the season. Somebody said one time that one date is no date. Was that Dr. Spooner? Or somebody said one date is no date
I think so.
When you're dating something. Well, now we have a heck of a lot more than one date, right? We have multiple dates covering multiple ranges. And Rick talked about this at the end of the show last night. And I thought, yes, you're right on the money.
Yep. That
it proves activity on the island by various people over various times.
Right.
Right. There's absolutely no question about that now, at least in my opinion. Right. So if they were there multiple periods, multiple times for multiple purposes, somebody knew about Oak Island. And over the course of many generations, people kept returning to Oak Island based on information that had been passed down over literally hundreds of years.
Yep.
Right. And we don't see that, or at least I don't see that, or I've never heard of that anyplace else in the Maritimes.
Yep.
Right. So it proves there's a common thread of knowledge relating specifically to Oak Island.
Right. Yeah. I totally agree with you. And nailing down all that, you look at different occupations over a long period, hundreds of years. It could, that's what I think they're finding out. I really think that they're nailing down the fact. I go back to my curiosity peaks taken back to that again, that stone platform in 1220. Who would have been there at that time? You get into the 1400s, the 1500s. Now you got other peoples that were well known to have already been in the area.
Yep. But keep in mind that the Templars, now if you want to go down the Templar road, pun intended,
Yep.
right, in the 1300s were basically run out of town. They were shut down. But far in advance of 1300, they were anticipating and preparing to be able to hide treasure.
Yep.
Right? Because maybe they didn't know the end was coming, but they wanted to get treasure away from certain places. certain artifacts and hide it well in advance of 1300.
Right.
So the timeline all starts to fit together.
Yeah, it sure does. See, you taking off, Colin?
Well, soon. I was just saying, one of the folks had made a comment about Vikings. I mean, when you start linking everyone together, I mean, it's amazing at that time that Vikings were traveling from there to Iceland, Greenland, Newfoundland. You know, theory has it, rumor has it, you know, Nova Scotia back in that time. And they were all very interlinked, you know, between the Portuguese were interacting with the Vikings, same as the English, the French, everybody, and trade and where to go and all this kind of stuff. So it was, you know, because this wasn't a single visit event. I mean, this would have been
not at all.
You know, many, many years, multi-generational information handed down. So I think they're all interlinked, that, you know, between the Vikings, and then they get dealing with the Portuguese and the Portuguese Templars, because they were a very big seafaring people. And, you know, hey, you know, where should we go? Hey, guys, I know this place. There's another.
I think you're exactly right. I think you're exactly right.
And you'll find it. And by the way, we already have some stuff built there, ready to rock and roll. So it's
yeah. And there's actually record of a Portuguese, I'm going to call it a lost Portuguese settlement somewhere in Nova Scotia. They believed it was in Cape Breton, but they're not. But then no one's proven it to be in Cape Breton.
Yeah. On that note, kids, my apologies, but I've got a unbelievably early morning, and I'm an hour, I think, ahead of you guys.
Yeah. So you're already encroaching on 10 o'clock. So
I am, and I'm an old man. So
yeah.
Well, thank you for coming, Colin. I appreciate your coming for the season finale, and we still need to hear about your trip over to France at some point. So
maybe we'll this weekend, like I say, keep an eye on the web on the Oak Island Beyond Facebook page. I'll make sure I'll put some postings of what's happening on the island now.
All right.
I'm hoping to get out there on Saturday, Sunday, and we'll take a boo and see what's we'll all get to see what's happening.
All right, sounds good. And if you get some really good stuff, we may have to do a little short video and have you come on. Can I do a short video? I don't think so, but anyway, we'll try. But yeah, so yeah,
first time for everything.
And I can share some stuff. Yeah, I was over in a week ago. Actually, I was over in the south of France in the Mediterranean, in Cannes and Saint Tropez and the Estro Mountains. I was hiking up the mountains and seeing some really cool ruins and stuff from around the 1200s. It was kind of around the dates of this stuff in on the Mediterranean. So I can talk about that too, or send you guys some cool pics of the trip overseas. It's pretty neat.
Nice. All right, we look forward to it. Thanks, sir.
See you
Appreciate
guys.
It. See you later.
Mike Colin.
Yeah, I gotta love the pictures that he gets of Oak Island for us. You know, for anything that's taken from the water is fair game. So
and he does it tastefully and respectfully. So
yes, he does, and that's a great thing. So we're very happy about that. So yeah, he's gonna have some new stuff for us coming up, hopefully on Monday. So we'll get to see what he has to share with us. Always good things. So yeah, going back to this a little bit. We were talking about the all the different the 500 boreholes that were dug, the over 20 caissons that were put in, 21, 22 caissons, something like that. The date ranges of things. I mean, there was a lot of good information that was shared.
Yeah.
And one of the things that got me, they keep talking about the well, and I got a picture. This is when Ian and Laird were taking that sample down in the bottom of the well. And then they came back with that little piece of wood that was dated about 900. They said it was about 900 years old. So that would put it about what, 1150, somewhere around in that range,
1200 range. Yep.
Yeah, 1200 range. So there you go. I mean, you're still talking. And as we mentioned before, having all these people on the island and doing all this work for whatever reason, you're going to need to have fresh water. And there you go. So you got a well that dates about the same time. It's just amazing that.
Did you notice that the structure of that well on lot 26, at least on the surface, was similar to the structure on lot 5?
Mm-hmm.
One just much bigger than the other.
Right. It truly is. Yeah.
Mm.
And I think I may even have, that picture right there kind of shows you,
Mm.
all I mean, you look at a well, why would a well have to have all that structure around the outside of it, all this? I mean, most of the time a well doesn't have that much of a rock wall, but I don't know.
Mhm.
But again, like you said, the construction is very similar.
Yep.
So, let's jump over a little bit and talk about some of the things to come. Now, in the war room, they were talking about. Rick had mentioned a couple different things about moving and continuing on. Some of the things that he's talking about doing is to deepen the garden shaft. So, if they drill, and they may have already done this, well, I don't know. Dumas, we know Dumas is there. I don't know how long they've been there, but Dumas is on the island right now. I don't know exactly what day they showed up, but that's going to be one of the first things they do, besides maybe going back and cleaning up anything that might have happened down there over the winter months. But they do have a lid on it, but it was very likely there may be some water in the bottom or whatever.
Oh, I guarantee it.
But they're going to get down there and they're going to drill again and see if they can get through that wood. Now, once they do that, are they going to put a camera down there? But the idea is that they are going to continue going deeper in the garden shaft down to that 93-foot level
Mm-hmm.
to tap into that tunnel. Now, what are they going to find? We don't know.
I wish they'd take a core driller down there. You ever seen them use a core driller to go through rocks?
Yeah.
When you're gonna quarry rocks or cut rocks, you use a core driller, goes through.
Yep.
You pull out the core, you run the cutting chain through the rock, right? And those core drillers can easily go 20, 30 feet.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And they can be handheld.
Yes, that's
It's
very
not
true.
it's not a big, choice drilling sonic drill rig. You need to do that because you're
Yep.
only drilling, a couple inch core, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
One of the other things that they mentioned too was tunneling, or Rick mentioned tunneling,
Yep.
caissons, extending the shaft, of course, or, and I thought this was kind of interesting, building an entirely new shaft. I mean, they've rehabbed the garden shaft. So if they find out that they can't, let's say they get down there and then they tap into the one that's running east and west off the north corner, and they find that it's collapsed, they can't get access to it or whatever, you would think they'd be able to rehab it some way too, but I don't know. But can you imagine them putting in a whole new shaft, or maybe rehabbing one of the other ones if they find a
Well,
need to?
and you know what? History repeats itself, eh? They're not the first fellows that done that, right?
Exactly.
They've gone down, they've hit water, they've dug another shaft to try and divert or go around the water source,
Yep.
right? Literally feet away, right? And to try and subvert the water.
Yep.
So if they get down into there and they strike an unstoppable force of water, they could be forced to dig another shaft.
Yep.
To try and basically turn this water off.
Yeah. So if we don't know what season 11 is going to hold, but we got a feeling. I got a feeling it's gonna be an interesting one for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So
There's some very historical timelines here to complete.
Yeah, and then yes, there is, and then of course Rick, talking about everything, and the fact that how everybody is here, and he's a great leader. Um, and he is taking care of, he keeps everybody together, and he does get emotional when he talks about that. And then around the room, you had folks that were definitely feeling it. There was people that actually told me, that they were crying at home or whatever too because of it, and everybody was tearing up. But it's an emotional thing for them, and that's the takeaway from that part of it, how emotional it is for them to go through this every year. Now we're starting on season 11 years that they've been at this. They've all become very good friends, and like you said, the fellowship. All right. So one thing I wanted to do was talk about the takeaways. Some people, there was some parts of this season that were kind of lackluster. And yes, I mentioned that early on. But I thought this season was a very good season And some of the takeaways that I thought were very important to me, one of them, and I'm going to say it right off the bat, my number one takeaway for me personally on all of this for season 10 was the fact that we have no doubt whatsoever that there are tunnels in the money pit now. No doubt whatsoever. We've seen the camera go down in M16.25. We saw the camera go down in there. We saw it. I got it in the intro of the show, looking down the tunnel, even though it's somewhat collapsed. But we've seen the wood, and they put the sonar down in there, and they saw the sonar going through there. It came out on an elbow, and you could see the tunnel going off in both directions. They've also tapped into the other tunnel that's going underneath the garden shaft.
Yep.
So that's my number one takeaway is that yes, all these years leading up to this with the caissons and the bore drilling and all the other stuff going on, they brought up chunks of wood, beams of wood with Roman numerals, carved into them and all of that to tell you that 3 goes with 3, 2 goes with 2 down there when you get down there, so they know where to put them. We got all of these. We didn't know for sure if some of them were searcher or some of them were, original depositor or whatever, but we never knew for certain that there were tunnels down there. Now we do. That was my number one takeaway. What do you think?
And the big thing is they're intact tunnels.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
They always suspected they were there because you find the wood, right? Mm-hmm. But you've got an intact tunnel, which means somebody's got to have left a clue in one of those tunnels.
Yep. Hey, Tony Sampson's here. Hey, Tony, how you doing? I'll be seeing you in about a month, sir. I'm ready. I got several tickets for the tour. Salty Dog Sea Tours. I can't wait to go on Salty Dog Sea Tours.
You're going to have fun. I can guarantee you're going to have fun.
I know. You had the pleasure already, and you had Tony on there giving the...
We were lucky enough to have Tony. Yep.
Giving the tour, man. I hope I could be so lucky. We'll see. Hopefully he has time for it. I don't know, but we'll see. I'll be there in a little over a month, sir. So that was my number one takeaway. What about you? What do you think?
My number one takeaway was the I talked about this a little while ago anyway, was the old thing, one date is no date. Well, now we have a whole bunch of dates, and they're all centered around certain pockets of time, right? So the fact that these dates are starting to fill in, not only just with clusters of dates, but clusters of actual artifacts and information, to me, the storyline is coming together.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. It's not saying, well, could somebody have been here in 1200? Well, we know there are several things now that'll take us back to 1200.
Yep.
We know there are things that'll put us in the 1400s. We know there are things that'll put us in the 1700s. Where this 500 AD stuff comes from, I'm still working on that. But
yeah, I know, right? With the coin and all of that, the Roman coin. I mean, that's still the.
But it proves somebody was there after 500 AD.
Yep.
When that was still valuable enough to carry around.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. That's part of the storyline.
Yep. Exactly right.
That was the big thing for me.
Yeah. I had number 2. I had the garden shaft down to 82 feet and then hitting wood at 93 feet. That was another big takeaway for me. The fact that they were able, even with the things they ran into, such as the permitting, when they were going down and then they had to stop because they had to go get permits taken. Or get permits for mining. Now it's a mining operation. Even though they were rehabbing a shaft, the government came back and said, nope, you're mining. You got to get a mining permit. They had to go through that process. So even with that, they did make it down to the bottom, and then they were drilling, and then they hit something that night. And it's appearing, it all appears to be that that tunnel that's at 93 feet that's running east and west. That right there to me was a huge takeaway for this season, that they were able to get down there and actually what appears to hit that tunnel. I wish they would have been able to poke into it. That was a little bit of a drawback for me, but yet at least they hit it and they know it's there. So that again was a good takeaway for me. And I want to hear from some of you folks too, as we're talking about this now. Tell us what you think were some of the big takeaways for this season. What did you what did you like? What was a big thing for you that was found or discovered or talked about during season 10? Because I'd like to hear what you think too. The cliffhanger was great. There was a precious metals at 30 feet, somewhere around the garden shaft. Oh, within 30 feet. Yes, yes, yes. That's what Ian Spooner was saying. That he was saying that within 15 feet of the bottom of the garden shaft, within 15 feet of the center of it, there is precious metal somewhere. And that means you put a 30-foot. That's what there's somebody saying, do they make a 30-foot caisson to put that down there and just dig up everything in between? But yeah, so they're that close. Wanda says the lead barter coin.
Yep.
Definitely big. Yep. Deidre says, I'll love it. Oh, the Tony Sampson's tour. Yes. Yes, I know. Deidre's been there already. She got a chance to experience that too. Deidre, that's Deidre and her husband Dustin that are from the Could It Be Oak Island podcast. Great stuff. The guys are still going on, so I hope everybody's checking that out. So good friends of the show. Appreciate you. But yeah, so yeah, she got a chance to go and see all of that. So I'll be there soon. Yeah, and we got is it 3 group members? Was that what it was, Linda, that are going to be there too? Colin and then a couple of others that are going to be there, and that's on the 21st. So yeah. So can't wait. Can't
free
wait.
beer.
Yeah, for sure. I did say that publicly, but people will have to go back and watch that show to make sure.
I'm going to keep reminding them.
I did say it started off that I was going to buy Tony a pint after the tour, but providing it's afternoon, of course. The tour starts pretty early, 10 o'clock, I think, or something.
As long as the sun is over the yard arm, you're good.
Okay, is that what the rule is?
Yeah, and if you lay on your back, it's always over the yard arm.
Yes, that's a good. Very good point. Very good point. All right, so let's see. Love the tour so who was that? Oh, Anne Marie. Yes. 3 times. You've been on the tour 3 times. Wow. And I've never even been to Nova Scotia. So there you go. I talk about it every week and I never even been there. So let's see. What else we got? I have more faith in Zena's map after this season. Yes. That's a good one for the Borchers Farm said that. Zena's map looking more and more like the real deal from Seth. Yeah. That's your big takeaway.
And even if Zena's map turns out not to be the real deal, there's real information contained in that map.
Yes, that's very true.
Right? So you just didn't look up in the heavens and come up with this map, right? Somebody had to give you information to make this map.
I agree. Yep. The 1200 archaeoastronomy date makes me want to look at the other earlier rock formations and stars from that time. That's a good point right there, Barbara, for sure. Yeah. I enjoyed their trips to Europe and the connections found. Yes. Yes. And Tom was talking about that earlier. That's a very good thing because of what they, finding those things like the stuff that's on the HO stone that was brought up in the back of or at the end of the war room meeting, the things from the HO stone. And I think there's still more to be discovered about that coming up, I think. But yeah, I remember the beer promise as well. Shh, Linda, come on. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? Yeah. All right. I'm good for one anyway. It's always 1700 somewhere. Yeah. 1700 hours. Yep. All right. So yeah. Yeah, a lot of people talking about Zena's map. Jeff, where were you in the Navy? Navy sailor are wild in when the ships come in. Yes. Blue Moon. Yes, it was. I actually I was stationed out of San Diego and went on a Westpac. I only went on one because our ship went into dry dock when we got back. But yeah, Westpac was very, very interesting and I enjoyed every minute of it. Every minute of it. So yeah, Philippines and Hong Kong and Africa, Australia. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, it was absolutely awesome. So that's where I was there. I'm going to roll back here because I think I missed some of the where's the blue jewel? Jay Smith, I don't know.
No one knows.
I said that at the beginning.
Never to be seen again.
Yeah. Either A, it was something that they found and it turned out to be nothing, but they had it in that commercial, so they left it there. But I mean, they showed us before the season started.
Yeah.
And they showed it periodically throughout the entire year and never showed it, and it was not on that table.
No. I think one of the other things, the second thing for me, the takeaway was that based on, and I go back to the dates, but based on the dates, we know that more than one theory is correct.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So whether it's Gretchen or Jim or Corian or Jake, right? These theories all have a place in the timeline.
Yep.
Right? You can't say, oh, well, I've got my theory and everybody else's theory is wrong. Your theory could be totally correct. And so could someone else's.
Yep. Yeah. At this point, that's very true.
Mm.
Yep. That is very true. Because we know that there's been multiple people there. It's just it's
I mean, when they come up with that date last night of 1640 or 64, whatever it was, I mean, Jim McQuiston was probably saying, oh, I guess that's going to bump my theory to number one now,
Mm-hmm.
But multiple theories can fit multiple timelines.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I think the fact Valerie said, I think the fact that they bought lot 5 and found all kinds of things there. Yes, that was a very good takeaway for this season. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, very good point. Yeah, lot 5 was great. Jack said that. Yes, Fran got here late and didn't hear too much about what. Yes, and I'm going to talk about that here in just a moment. Maddie Blake, their next Tuesday night at 9, they're having a drilling down. It's going to be Maddie Blake. It was done last winter because there was snow on the ground, but Maddie was in Traverse City, Michigan, meeting with Rick and Marty and everybody, and kind of did a kind of going over some things that we hadn't heard. I'm hoping we hear about those. The date of the 2 bags of stuff that was brought up from the bottom of the garden shaft off the auger. I'd like to get a date on that, or that little piece of wood that they got from the week before off the smaller auger. I want to hear dates on that. What else? We won't hear about the blue gemstone, I'm sure. There was a couple other things they're going to talk about on there. One of them is going to be this right here. This is the muon. I think if I'm seeing this correctly, this is the muon sensor data, and I think this right here is the 5 that are in the money pit.
Yep.
Okay.
I went to go down and look back and look for an overhead shot today, but I didn't have a chance because I had to go out. But I think that is the layout in the money pit area.
Yeah. It looks to be about 115. I don't know. I wish I could roll this thing a little bit so I could see the actual depth of it. If it's about 115 to 140 feet, I don't know. It's hard. I can't judging that. I'm probably way off. Might be 100. Yeah, it's really hard to see. But if I'm looking at the orientation of this correctly, this right here, I'm thinking is the tunnel that they found the elbow in, and it was down at M16.25.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they've overlaid that tunnel onto that diagram. Yeah.
So we're going to get to hear about this next week, and we'll be talking about it probably like I said, probably on the 25th on Thursday night. We'll be talking about the episode, and it'll be a quick one. But I really want to see what they have to say about this. But I believe this is looking at the void areas that are in the money pit based upon the muon technology. So you got several voids. Now, that would put, I think, this one over here would probably be over by where C1 is. Maybe. And this one here, I don't know. Is that Chapel Shaft? I don't know.
It'd be anybody's guess, really.
That might be Chapel Shaft. It was in the ground. That's still there.
Yeah, 10x was how deep 10x was. 10x was 235, I think, wasn't it?
235. Yeah. Plus, you take a 10x is actually about what? Is that about 15, 20 feet higher than the money pit level? Yeah.
The whole money pit area is all in about the 28 to 30 foot level above
Above
sea level.
sea level at high tide.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I think the 10X level up where the crane was sitting is about another 15 to 20 feet above that.
Yeah.
Roughly.
But again, we don't know how much of that's man-made now and how much of it's original, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yeah, it's all in that, let's say 25 to 30 foot range.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is really cool. I'm and you can see how far down those sensors go. They're going down,
Yeah.
270 feet down at the bottom.
What are the other circles is what I want to know.
I don't know. All the yellow circles?
Mm.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Possible targets?
Yeah, maybe.
Because they don't line up to anything on your scale stick on the left.
Right. Yeah, very interesting. But I think that's that shaft. It's M16.25.
Yeah, I think it is too. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was turning and heading towards the garden shaft area. So yeah, going to be interesting to see next week. I'm really looking forward to this one. So, what is the black? That's that tunnel. I believe that's the tunnel. Blue Moon. I'm pretty sure that's the tunnel that they discovered at 16.
I think it is.
M16.25.
I think they've taken what their perception of that tunnel is based on the sonar and the drilling program, and overlaid it on that red spot.
Yep. And again, we'll find out more next week when they talk about this. But yeah, pretty interesting. Now it's something I was really hoping to see, and some of the dating of things. I'm really looking forward to seeing some of the dates of some of the other items that we haven't found out about yet. So good stuff, though. I mean, again, you go back to this entire season, and looking at it, one of the other things, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, I guess it was one of my other takeaways that I had besides Lot 5, was also the occupation. We know that there was occupation of the island by a sizable group of individuals somewhere around the 1200 to in the 1400s, 1500 time frame, based upon the things that the dating of the wood that they found in different places. That's significant, folks. I mean, it truly is. I mean, it's
even in the 1600s is significant.
Yeah. When was the island divided up into lots?
You're talking. There's a good question. I think I'm guessing early 1700s.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Because Samuel Ball and those fellows, they were all buying lots in the mid 1700s, late 1700s. Money Pit was discovered in 1795.
Yeah.
Right. So the fact that you can put people on that island with significant structures in the 1600s,
even, yeah,
right, is important.
Yeah, very, very important. Let's see. I was going to look. We're getting ready to wrap up here, but I wanted to look and see if there's any other stuff in here about things that people got takeaways from the show. Oh yeah, it'd be nice to dig that ship in the swamp if there is a ship in the swamp. But yes, I mean they keep finding pieces and parts. And we talked about, this is something that we talked about last night. They have found a lot of wooden pieces in the swamp. The one piece that really kind of gets me, and it was found on the other side of Nolan's Peninsula, so not likely something that was washed in by storm surge, would have been that metal bracket that had been burned, and Carmen had said it was involved in a very hot fire, very intense fire. So that's the one piece that kind of gets me. Wood's going to float. All the other pieces are made out of wood, but that one, I don't know. So does it mean there's a ship in the swamp? I don't know.
And when we talk about tunnels, when we look at the tunnels that they found in Italy and Europe, we always say, oh my goodness, how could they ever possibly dig a tunnel that deep? Yeah. I mean, these people were digging cities worth of tunnels underground.
Yep.
Now, granted, the structure may have been a bit different, but the ability and willingness to dig a tunnel was certainly not unheard of.
And you see all these tunnels, especially the ones that they went over and looked at this year, this season, over in the UK and all of that, and the Royston Cave that Gretchen took them to, all carved out of rock. And then you think about the money pit down at the bottom of the money pit, and they keep talking about hitting bedrock. I mean, wouldn't that be the place you want to be doing your tunneling in the rock?
That'd certainly be at home.
You know? Yeah, exactly, right? So, but we never quite hit that level. So, all
Yeah.
right. Well, I mean, I thought overall, I thought it was a good season. I think it was stretched a little too as far as the content that they had to go with. But again, I as I said early on in the show, I do not take that against the guys on the island at
No.
all. I have a lot of respect for them and what they are doing, and I really look forward to them. And for season 11, and get her done. Let's see what they got. I can't
Hopefully,
wait. Go ahead,
hopefully
sir.
when you get to Nova Scotia this summer, you'll get to sit down with a few of those guys, maybe over a pint at the Mug.
Mhm.
And when you look them in the eye and you see their conviction and commitment towards that project,
Mhm.
it will remove any and all doubt you could have ever had about
Yeah.
what's going on there.
I did get a little taste of that. I do know what you mean, because I
Mm.
did get a little taste of that when I met Scott Barlow in Florida. And of all places to meet somebody, right? Somebody from Nova Scotia on the island, to meet him in Florida.
I think half of Canada's down there in the wintertime.
Well, I know that's where I'm going again this winter. But, to meet him down there and to talk to him. I mean, we did talk about the island some, of course, but and I can't share most of what he told me, but and he didn't reveal things to me. I mean, he wasn't revealing things to me. That way he was very good about not doing that. But, it's just one of those things where I'm not going to just go blabbing everything he said. But I got that same sense that you just mentioned, that sense of he's all in on this project.
Hmm.
I mean,
They're
this
every
is
bit as committed as the Lagina brothers.
right. It's not just a job. It's actually, I think he's on board with it, the passion for it too. I really do. It's yeah, like you said. And I can't wait to meet everybody else. I mean, I don't know who all I'm gonna get to meet when I'm up there. I really don't know. Hopefully, I'd love to meet everybody, but yeah, that I'm sure that's not going to happen. But Carmen already has talked and one thing I wanted to mention too, Alessandra Nadavari is going to be joining Tom and I to talk to Scott Clark next week. So Alessandra is coming on again. Man, it's been a while since she's been on the show. So she'll be joining us because she likes Scott, and so we'll get to talk to her a little bit as well. So I want to make sure I mentioned that. Almost forgot here at the end of the show, but yeah. So I'm really looking forward to seeing who I can meet: Tony Sampson, Carmen Legg, Ian and Doug and all them guys. We'll see how it turns out. It'll turn out the way it turns out. You got very lucky. You got to meet all kinds
Yep.
of people. And
You
Terry
hang around the
DeVoe.
mug. You hang around the Mug and Anchor long enough, they're going to show up.
Well, I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to be like the barfly hanging out in
Mm.
there. Yeah. So, and Terry DeVoe. I can't. I really want to meet him and be able to go out. You guys went out to go out and look at the Gloos Capstone and stuff like
Yep.
that with him.
Yep. And the
Just
Mi'kmaq
to
petroglyphs.
hear
Yep.
him explaining stuff, would be
Yeah.
so.
Had lunch with Terry. The wealth of knowledge, like it's unbelievable. When you sit down and talk to these people, what they explain to you in just
Mhm.
very down to earth, common sense terms, it's not jammed into a 30-second sound bite.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Yep. Yep.
it's amazing what these people know.
Yeah. Bill Smith too. I'm looking forward to meeting him
Yes,
too.
by
I
all
want
means,
to
yep.
beat Bill up there as well. So yeah. So anyway, we'll see what happens. But as time gets closer, yeah. Tony just said you'll have a ton of fun, mate. I know I will. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to experiencing all that Mahone Bay and Nova Scotia, Halifax, wherever we get to, Lunenburg, the whole area. I just can't wait to get up there and experience it. So, and whoever I get to meet, I get to meet. So, and Tom, and we get to meet you in person,
Yep,
and
in
Colin.
person. Yep.
Yes, that's going to be awesome. Anyway, all right. Final thoughts on season 10, Tom?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than season 9.
Yep, me too.
I think, and no matter what, there's always going to be gaps. There's always going to be spaces. There's going to be things we like, don't like. As Linda says, they've got to fill time slots for 25 shows. They've got
Yep.
a storyline to consider. They've got everything else to consider. But at the end of the day, there's a search. And that's what those guys are doing. They're doing a search.
Yep. And they're gathering history.
Their commitment to me is second to none, and that's a big part of the story.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Right on. All right, folks. Thank you so much for being here with us. This wraps up our season episodes for the Curse of Oak Island. Again, we will have one more at least for the drilling down. It's going to take place next week. We'll kind of put something together based upon what they talk about. And hopefully, if everything works out, we're going to do that on Thursday night, the 25th. And then Scott Clark on the 24th, of course, with Alessandra and Tom. And then we also have Laird and Emma coming on the 31st. It's a Wednesday night, all at 7:30 time frame. And then, of course, our Skinwalker Ranches will continue on Friday nights at 7:30. We got some more Bigfoot stuff coming up, so don't forget about that. And don't forget to click on that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. If you like the content of the show we did here tonight, please give us a thumbs up. It really helps out a lot.
And Jan, you can take the summer off.
Yeah, Jan. Well, I Skinwalker though.
Oh yeah, well.
Oh, Jan. Again,
I don't need those notes.
Yeah, you don't need those notes, but and I, if she really wants the summer off, then podcast from the boat. Yes, sir, Tony Sampson. I was going to ask if if I was allowed to video while you're giving the tour. I know that people need to experience that from your guides. But yeah, if I'm allowed to, I will, Tony. Anyway, all right. Yeah, it's time to get out of here. Well, thank you guys for being here tonight. Again, have a good rest of your week. And if you're going to be here with us on Friday night for Skinwalker Ranch, we'll see you then. Everyone have a great rest of your evening. Good night.